On Super Channel now, a Music Box special which follows David Bowie on tour and in rehearsal.
Very high energy, I think, compared to some recent albums that I've made, and it's very oriented towards stage and being in a small band. It's the most theatrical tour I've done in many, many years. Probably as theatrical as the Diamond Dogs tour, which unfortunately I don't think I ever brought over here. But that was with sort of skyscrapers, yeah, bad show. But it's as theatrical as that. But it's not just that, haha. Secret ingredients up sleeve. I can actually talk that much about the tour, in as much as the last tour that I did, I guess quite obviously was a performance structured for showcasing the songs that I've written over the years. But this particular tour that we're doing, the songs have been chosen because they suit the performance rather than the other way around. So it's not really a big hits tour, although we'll be playing a lot of songs that I think people would hope and expect that we'll be doing. As far as Absolute Beginners goes, okay, I'll tell you what I think about that. I thought it was a very interesting movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I like the way that Julian works with cinema. I think he's got some interesting things to say. It was a first movie, but it's kind of, I think it's a parallel to Tony Scott, in a way. You know, Tony Scott I did The Hunger with, again, because I thought he was a really first-class director. And we didn't have much luck in commercial terms with that movie, but his next movie, of course, was Top Gun. And it's now his Beverly Hills Cops 2, and he's already sort of really firmly established director. Now everybody's saying, oh, what a wonderful director, isn't it? The same exact thing will happen to Julian because he's just starting his second movie next month. Yeah. I'd very much like to direct films. I mean, as often as possible I've collaborated on all the videos that I've done, but it's kind of a quantum leap to go from 4 minutes to 90, but obviously one has those pretensions. Yeah, I'd like to make a movie. Is it true I love this one. Is it true I'm going to play Frank Sinatra? Well, Frank and I talked the other day, you know. That story, I first saw that story in about 1977, is the first time that came up. Because like a damn fool, I probably said it. But since, and it's like a perennial, it comes up like every few years. Absolutely not. It's having absolutely no intention. And I did read somewhere Nancy Sinatra, but there you can't believe everything you read in the... Nancy Sinatra apparently suggested that I would be good to do the role, and I'm sort of... I think I'm flattered, I'm not sure. I'm not very good with horses' heads, but I've never had much practice. But I don't think I'll be doing that role. It's not really at the top of my list. What's all this about glass spiders? What is it you've got going with spiders, Bowie? I don't know. Spiders keep coming up in my references all the time, from obviously from the spiders from Mars. I don't know what the Jungian aspects of it are, but I see it as some kind of mother figure. Whoa. Okay. Do you want to run with that one for a bit? So it's kind of it's the pivotal song on the album, and it's the idea of children when they eventually, there's a point in every child's life when it realizes its parents are really not something they can depend on for everything. They are kind of on their own. It's that kind of feeling, and that permeates the feeling of the show that I'm putting together.
When you're on tour, do you enjoy having a sort of surrogate family around you?
Excuse me. Oh yeah, I think it's much better having that than enemies. I like this lot. I've been very lucky on my tours. Way back to the Spiders, it's always been. I think it must be awful to be in a band or in a working situation where you don't get on with anybody, or you have a lot of sort of whinging or breakups and fights breaking out during the course of the tour, but touch wood, I've always been extremely lucky.
Do you have to be the commander, or are you one of the chaps? as far as the band's concerned, at
I
least?
kind of probably end up being a bit of both. I think, you know, you can make suggestions. I think that's the best way to keep things sort of flowing. I don't think it's wise to become a sort of a rule with an iron rod type thing, because I think everybody gets a bit pissed off with that. But I think you have to have some degree of understanding of what's necessary to get the tour around the world. So it's a little bit of give and take, I think. Moderation.
Have you changed things in the show since it started?
Only for the daylight shows. I found in the daylight shows that it was necessary to put in some more familiar things. But fortunately, the only, well, rather, I guess, no, I shouldn't say that, unfortunately, the only daylight shows we've had have been in Belgium and in England, which is such a shame. I mean, it's the... having this curfew thing over here is just really hard to contend with. You don't have it anywhere else in Europe. I mean, in Spain we were going on at 10:30, Italy about the same time, and you go through till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's great, and there's a wonderful atmosphere, and it's sort of balmy nights.
You said that you had to put in more familiar songs because it was a daylight show.
Yes.
I don't follow that. Why?
Because the show is so geared towards the theatricality that the emphasis is on vision on some areas, where it's just hopeless to try and make that vision work during daylight. There's so much of it is focused by the lighting. And if you haven't got any lighting, you're not putting out what your show is really about. So I compensate, which seems to have worked very well. We tried it first in Dublin, and we did it here. Did you see the show last night?
I did.
And we've tried it in Manchester, and I think it's been, well, obviously it worked very well last night. They're great kids here, fabulous audience.
The show puts enormous physical demands on you. I mean, swinging around and climbing things.
Swinging
and
a
what
bait.
have you. How do you keep fit?
The show is quite enough. I mean, I'm not... when we were rehearsing, I did a lot of gym stuff during the rehearsal period, but now we're on the road. I mean, the show itself is the only thing that's necessary. I mean, it's like a 2-hour workout every night, so...
Do you have a special diet or anything?
No, a lot of steak and eggs. Fish. A lot of fish.
How do you feel at the end of the show? I mean, are you fit enough that you're
Quite
in
exhilarated,
reasonable shape?
actually. Yeah,
You're not
I mean...
gasping and falling over.
I think it is because of that. The show is such a workout that you do feel like you've done a great workout. And if you do it, I don't know if you do workouts from gym. You don't do anything like that. Well, you feel great after that, you know, and I feel much like that. I feel wide awake and ready to go, you know. So it's kind of like doing the gym with songs.
Press's reception of your album and sort of the London shows was cool, to say the least. Does that matter to you at all?
Not really. I've had it ever since Aladdin Sane, and I've kind of got used to the English not really being in one's camp. No, so it's not really... I'm not sure. I don't know half the guys who write these things, and they seem to change yearly. You know, it's one name one year, then they go off and become whatever it is they become, Pet Shop Boys, I suppose. And then another crowd come in, you know. So there's no real, I don't know, I see them come and go, so it's not really, doesn't really bother me.
Completely immune to any of that kind of criticism. Now, you were out at a local disco last night.
Yeah.
Have you always felt free to do that kind of thing, or is it in more recent times that you feel relaxed enough to go out?
Oh, I've always done
like
that, but I mean, I don't do it as much as I used to. I think I probably go out with the lads about a couple of times a week or something like that. But I don't think I could do it every night on this tour, because I think it's just too strenuous, you know.
I just meant from the point of view of security, or being worried about getting mobbed, or approaches that people might make to you.
No, that wouldn't occur to me.
Well, what kind of security
Oh,
do you
I've
have
got
when you
two
go out?
shaven-headed Vietnam veterans, you know, with machine guns. So.
Seriously, what kind of security do you have to have with you when you're out on the road?
Very, very little, frankly. I mean, I'm not an entourage person. I don't really travel that way. And it just depends if you're sensible or not, I suppose. But I'm not a great believer in security syndrome or limousines and all that, because I think that attracts too much attention. You know, I think if you want to be noticed, you do go out with two crew-cutted monster guys, you know, and then you'll be noticed, you know. But if you just want to slip around a lot, get in there and get out there, you know.
Have you ever feared assassination?
Good Lord, no.
Well, so like one can imagine that after what happened to John Lennon, that I mean, really big rock stars might have felt a little twitchy.
I think it's presidents and TV personalities and anybody else in a public position has that onus on them, I suppose. If you want to, I don't think you have to sort of have that as a priority in life, though. I don't think you bother carrying on if you felt like that about things. I spent the majority of this last 18 months, in fact, in America, but I wouldn't say I lived in America. So it's hard for me to actually say I live somewhere. It's like...
Don't you have a house that you call home?
I have a place in Switzerland, yeah, but I'm so rarely any one place. It's the same, I know Mick Jagger feels much the same way, is that when you're perpetually travelling, you get used to the idea of not actually having, you know, the house that you go back to or whatever. You know, you get quite to like it, actually.
Well, what do you like to do when you're at home in Switzerland, then?
Ski.
That's it? Sporty person?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite academic, actually, and I read a lot, and I ski, and I keep very much to myself. When I live quietly, I live very, very quietly.
Rumours have abounded in the last couple of years that you're about to marry or already have married your personal assistant, Coco Schwab. Is there any truth in that?
Coco's been my very closest friend and highly supportive of me, and I hope of her, for 14 years when she first started working for me. And that's what she does, she works for me. I can't think of anybody else that I could consider as close a friend as Co. No, we're not getting married. We're not a love affair. Sorry, papers.
What will you do after this tour is out of your system? Have you got plans to do another movie or something like that?
I suppose so, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing a thing with Jagger next autumn, and I'm possibly doing one in February. And I shall actually...
Can you tell us anything about it?
No. And then I'm going into the studio next year.
So it goes on?
For me.
Right, one last thing. I don't see how you can do a more spectacular show than you've done on this tour. So do you feel it's likely that you might go back to something relatively simple next time you go out on tour?
I don't know, I can't foresee what I would be doing. I would doubt that I would do something this complex this quickly again. However, there's spectacular and spectacular. I mean, you can see 15 different shows and they'll all be spectacular. What goes into them makes it... I mean, you could do something quite as spectacular as this, but it would be completely different. Something completely different.